Hey, this is my Intro to Cinema final project, and today I'll be reviewing Death to the Tin Man, which is written and directed by Tintori. In Death to the Tin Man, we follow our protagonist Bill, whom the pastor's daughter Jane is madly in love with. Bill, however, is a bit of a troublemaker because he used to be an amazing firefighter, but he was so good that the rest of the firefighters were jealous that he was making them look bad, so they conspired to have him dishonorably discharged. Bill, however, refused to stop fighting fires, and this causes a lot of trouble because he's not certified to do so. And so eventually the town gets mad enough that they bring him into the church in front of the pastor where he is cleansed from his sins. But what actually happens is a curse is placed upon Bill and his axe, where now whenever he tries to chop wood or work with machinery, he loses a limb or another part of his body. And eventually he is replaced entirely by tin pieces that now make up his whole body, except for his eyes, his heart, and his lungs. Bill then attempts to go back and find Jane, but when he finds her, he sees that she is now in love with his old body that has no soul, no heart, no eyes, but she is still in love with it and is actually very scared of Bill in his new tin body. And this is very interesting. Originally, it brought up the paradox of the ship of Theseus to me, which is where if you replace a ship piece by piece, say board by board, over time, and eventually you replace the entire ship, is it now a new ship, or is it the same ship? I mean, it's completely new material, but if you had only changed one or two pieces, you would definitely call it the same ship. Better yet, what if you took all those old pieces and remade a new ship? Is that a new ship, or is that the original ship? It's a paradox. There's no real right answer, but the movie tries to portray to us that the old ship is actually the correct ship, as we see from Bill's point of view, him being the old ship in this case, and the lifeless body being the new ship. Jane, however, represents the other belief in the paradox, that the original ship, despite being made of completely new pieces, is still the original ship. This also brings up the philosophical question of dualism, and whether or not the mind is a separate entity from the body, or if the two are physically intertwined. Because in this film, we can clearly see Bill's body, for the most part, has been removed from his soul, stating that dualism is true and that we are not intertwined, and that our soul is a separate entity from us. And this is not the only philosophical question that is raised by the film. It really comes into question of what the definition of life is, and whether or not Bill, who is more machine than he is man, is alive because he has a soul, or if the new meatbag is alive, even though he's soulless, but he has a human body. These questions become even more interesting at the end of the film, when Bill decides to take his heart from his tin body and place it inside his soulless old body, because he knows that Jane loves his old body and will never love him as the Tin Man. We've now come full circle on the ship of Theseus paradox, because now all of Bill has been remade in his old body. But is it still Bill? Is it him? Does it share his soul? It brings in dualism. When we have the same body, but is it the same person? Is it still alive? We can't really answer these questions, and the film ends fairly abruptly, and we never really get to see what his old body was like with his heart in it. But what we do get to see is him as the Tin Man. Even without his heart, he is still upright, walking, talking like the same old him with his soul. Overall, I'd say the film is really good about bringing up these tough questions, and it doesn't spoon feed you an answer. It leaves you to make your own decisions on what you think being alive is, what you think having a soul means, whether or not Bill is still Bill, or if Bill is gone, if they're both Bill, or if there's no Bill at all. It's a great film if you really want to think. It's also pretty funny, and I would encourage you to go watch it yourself and make your own conclusions on what you think the answers to those questions are.